What up, boxing fans? Gilberto Torres Jr. with Torres Boxing. I hope everyone's having a great day. And real quick, I want to talk about Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. And I was reading an article yesterday, and it was talking about how some of the greatest fighters that ever lived stayed in too long and unfortunately had a rude exit from the sport. And it talked about and mentioned names like Sugar Ray Leonard, and Muhammad Ali being a couple of them, and others, of course, that were great in their moment, in their prime, but Father Time catches up to everyone. And it talked about how they were beaten pretty badly in their last fights, and that was kind of what reminded or made these fighters come to the realization that everybody suffers from the effects of age. And so it was going into detail about that whole reality of things, of how age catches up to anyone. No fighter is immune from the effects of age. And it specifically looked at Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, as you all know, is 40 years old. He has already done it all in the sport. He's fought the who's who of his era. He's boxing's only 8-division world champion, fighter of the decade for the 2000s. So Manny Pacquiao has an established legacy already and really doesn't have to be taking on any more fights, let alone fights against the best welterweights in the world. But that's exactly what Manny Pacquiao is doing. On July 20th on Fox pay-per-view, Manny Pacquiao takes on a young, in his prime, undefeated world champion in Keith Thurman. And this is a dangerous fight for Manny Pacquiao, because you're talking about a 40-year-old Pacquiao that, we all know, at least we should all know, that Manny Pacquiao is on the decline and has been for some time now. That's not to say that Manny Pacquiao is still not a dangerous fighter, because he is. As I've mentioned before, Manny Pacquiao in his prime was probably above everyone else. The pound for pound, the best fighter on the planet. But of course now he's on his decline, and now that he's declining, he's kind of leveling out with all the other welterweights. But still, you have a dangerous, young, and undefeated world champion in Keith Thurman, who's at his prime, his physical prime. And so this is a very risky fight for Manny Pacquiao, and it really depends on how Manny Pacquiao comes into this fight. Will he get old overnight, or will Manny Pacquiao pull out another performance like from the ones in the past and beat Keith Thurman? That's the question headed into this fight. But like I said, it is a dangerous fight. And just looking at the fight itself, Manny Pacquiao, 40 years old. The thing about it is that in his last two outings, he fought Lucas Matisse, who of course was not himself anymore. And like I've mentioned before, it could be a factor of other things too. For example, you're across the ring from a legendary fighter. The aura, the mystique surrounding Pacquiao could also have some sort of mental effect on his opponents. And the fact that Matisse also didn't look to be himself anymore physically. Came in well prepared for the fight, of course, but just looked gun shy. And like I said, that could also be because he was in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. But who knows? I'm not really. It's speculation, of course. But case in point is that Manny Pacquiao did beat him and scored his first knockout victory in nearly a decade. After that, this past January, Manny Pacquiao defeated on points by wide unanimous decision Adrian Broner. And Adrian Broner, as has been accustomed to him, really didn't let his hands go. He didn't really throw any punches, and that's exactly what Pacquiao was able to go ahead and just go to work on him, and was able to, coast to a wide unanimous decision. So those are two fights against fighters that were probably not at Pacquiao's level, or just weren't there 100%. But now you have Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman's a different type of fighter. Keith Thurman, before his hiatus, when he was gone for about 2 years, close to 3 years, Keith Thurman was considered the top guy in the division. He had unified against Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. He was at the height of his powers. There was so much hype surrounding him. But then, of course, he suffered those unfortunate injuries that kind of put him out of action for, again, almost 3 years. But he came back and he looked a little bit lackluster in his outing against Josecito Lopez. Josecito Lopez, granted, he did come in prepared. He was motivated. He was in there to win the fight. He wasn't there just to pick up a paycheck. And he almost had Keith Thurman out of there in the 7th round. And I do attribute some of Keith Thurman's lack of impressiveness due to the ring rust that he had. I mean, this man is coming off a nearly 3-year layoff. There's certainly going to be some ring rust in there. And so I do attribute some of his, like I said, lack of impressiveness to the ring rust that he had. But now, Manny Pacquiao, July 20th, I do expect a stronger, just a stronger, more prime Keith Thurman. And like I said, it's a dangerous fight. And Manny Pacquiao being at the twilight of his career, it's really interesting to see him every time he decides to fight next. Why? Because you have to wonder, will he get old overnight? You have situations where a fighter does get old overnight, where he just can't pull the trigger anymore. He's there, the fighter's there, but he's not there. You know, it's like, you know, the name is there, but the fighter, his physical abilities are no longer there. So that's always the concern, also coming with Pacquiao into every fight that he fights now at this stage. So will that happen? Manny Pacquiao's experienced. He has a 24-year professional career. He's been boxing since he was little. He still has proven to be fast, to have good reflexes, has still solid speed, even though he's not as fast as he once was. He still has power. Of course, power is usually the last thing that leaves a fighter. It's their power. So that power is still there. It earned him respect against Lucas Matisse and Adrian Broner. It almost stopped Jeff Horn a couple years back. So the power is still there. Of course, Manny Pacquiao has ever since he made his move up to welterweight, it's a division where he's a smaller fighter. He's fighting bigger guys, so those knockouts have not been coming. But he's held his own. He's earned the respect of his opponents, and that power is still there. And like I said, he's still got good lateral movement. He's more selective with his punches. He's strategic. He's just a veteran. He's a ring general, and so there's a fine balance there that's going on. There's the factor of how much gas is left in the tank. You know, can Pacquiao still physically be able to implement his skills and everything he's learned over these past 24 years? Because experience is helping him a lot, and it can help any other fighter. But if there's no gas left in the car, then you're not going to be able to do anything with him. So that's the question surrounding Pacquiao. How much gas is left in the tank? It's going to be interesting. I know that neither fighter is sleeping on the other. I think that they're both going to come in at their best, and so this is really a great fight. Manny Pacquiao, if he defeats Keith Thurman, 20 plus years into the game, after having accomplished what he's already accomplished, fighting the best of his generation and now fighting the best of a future generation, and if he beats him, I think that these sort of things, these sort of accomplishments only help to bolster his legacy. So it's going to be very interesting. Of course, Keith Thurman, I'm not counting him out. I think, you know, he's coming into this fight as the favorite, and Pacquiao's coming into this fight as the betting underdog for the first time since he fought Mayweather. So it's a very interesting fight. Keith Thurman's coming into this very well prepared. I've seen footage of his training. Both of these guys are taking this fight really seriously, as they should. And it's going to be a crazy night. It's going to be a great fight between two great elite fighters. And Manny Pacquiao, of course, in the twilight of his career, taking these type of fights, that alone earns him huge points, because you don't see a lot of fighters out there doing that. You have fighters that are reluctant to take risks, yet Manny Pacquiao, at a stage where he doesn't need to be taking these sort of fights, is taking these sort of fights. So interesting fight, guys. Go ahead, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stay notified with up-to-date content. Till next time, guys, God bless you and have a great rest of your day.